All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to unpack the huge paradox at the heart of artificial intelligence, and we're using the latest Stanford HAI AI Index report as our map. And what it shows is a world where AI is moving at this absolutely breakneck speed, but that incredible growth is also creating some really serious and kind of unexpected growing pains.
And honestly, nothing tells this story better than this one meme. So on the left, you've got a 2023 AI trying to make a video of Will Smith eating spaghetti, and it is genuinely the stuff of nightmares. But on the right, just about a year later, a video from the exact same prompt is, wow, almost perfectly real. This one single example just shows you the absolute explosion in AI's power. It went from deeply unsettling to unbelievably realistic in what feels like the blink of an eye.
So yeah, it's just a mind-boggling leap forward, right? And it raises a huge question. How in the world did we get here so fast? And maybe even more importantly, what new problems is all this speed creating? This is the core paradox we're going to get into. So let's start with the incredible boom in what AI can actually do.
All right, so first up, the capability explosion. To really get a handle on this paradox, you first have to understand the sheer scale of these advancements. I mean, the raw technical performance it's unlike anything we've ever seen before. So how do we even measure this progress? Well, we use something called benchmarks. And you can really just think of them as standardized tests for AI. They're basically the SATs for machines, and they give us this consistent yardstick to measure just how smart these models are getting at certain things. And the results from these tests, they're just staggering. Get this, there's a benchmark called MMLU, and it tests knowledge across 57 different subjects. Back in 2019, an early AI model got a failing grade, but just 5 years later, in 2024, the top model scored over 92%. That is a 64.4 percentage point jump. In just 5 years, AI went from totally failing the test to completely acing it. And that, right there, creates this fascinating new problem. What happens when AI just starts getting a perfect score on every test we can possibly think of? I mean, what do you do when the student has officially outgrown the exam? Well, the answer is you have to invent way harder tests. Researchers are now literally creating PhD-level exams for AI, like this frontier math benchmark you see here. It is filled with problems that are so complex that most human experts can't even solve them. And this is a really profound shift. We're no longer just comparing AI to what an average human can do. We're now testing it against the absolute limits of human knowledge itself. But, this incredible progress, it comes at a cost. And this brings us to the first major challenge in our paradox. The very fuel for this fire, all that data, is actually starting to run out. You see, AI models get trained on these unimaginable amounts of data that are scraped from the public internet. But now, it's like the public library for AI is starting to lock its doors. More and more websites are putting up walls to block AI companies from scraping their data, and that's creating a potential data shortage. And we're not talking about a small change here. An audit of this massive training dataset, C4, found that the amount of web content blocking AI scraping jumped from around 7% in 2023 to a whopping 33% just a year later. The report calls this the shrinking data commons, and it's a huge problem for how future AI models are even going to be trained. So you've got this explosion in capability, but a potential crisis in the resources to build it. Now let's look at the human side of this paradox, this growing gap between what AI can do and what it should do. The Stanford report puts it perfectly, saying, while this shift offers significant benefits, it also brings with it notable risks. And these aren't just abstract what-if kinds of risks. They have very real consequences for very real people. I mean, just take this story from May of 2024. A woman in the UK was out shopping when she was completely wrongfully identified as a shoplifter by a facial recognition system. She was publicly accused, she was searched, and she was banned from stores, all because an algorithm made a mistake. This is the real human cost when these incredibly powerful systems get it wrong. Now, have a look at this conversation. It seems pretty heartfelt, right? A really human exchange. Please come home to me as soon as possible, my love. Please do, my sweet king. But it is not at all what it seems. The truth here is just devastating. This conversation was generated by an AI chatbot who's created without anyone's consent using the identity of Jennifer Ann Crescente, a high school senior who was murdered back in 2006.
And this just underscores a really crucial point. The exact same technology that can do these incredible things is also capable of creating entirely new and profound kinds of harm.
So these kinds of incidents, they really highlight a critical need. We are in a race against time, folks, a race to build the guardrails to make this powerful technology safer for everyone.
Okay, one of the biggest challenges is something researchers call shallow safety. You can think of it like a security guard who only checks for the most obvious threats. So as you see on the left, if you ask for something directly harmful, the model correctly says, nope, can't help you. Great. But look at the right. If you trick the model with a kind of Trojan horse prompt, like you're pretending the harmful content is already approved, the safety filters can just completely fail. It's this superficial layer of safety that's just way too easy to get around. And this is where new safety benchmarks like AirBench are so important. This heat map gives you a snapshot of how well different AI models are doing at refusing to generate harmful stuff. The darker the blue, the safer the response. And this just brilliantly illustrates how complex the challenge is. A model might be really good at one thing, like refusing to talk about weapons, but then completely fail at something else, like hate speech. It proves that safety isn't some simple on or off switch. Now, the good news is the global community is really responding. Researchers are developing much tougher safety benchmarks. Governments are starting to create new rules and frameworks. And companies are building tools to watermark AI-generated content so we know where it came from. But even as these guardrails are being built, the technology itself is already taking its next giant leap forward. So where is this all going? Well, the next major frontier, the next big thing, is what the industry is calling the agentic frontier. So what's an AI agent? Well, think of it this way. Up until now, AI has been a system that responds to you. An AI agent is a system that acts for you. It can plan and then execute a whole series of actions to get a goal done. Imagine an assistant that doesn't just find you flights, but actually goes ahead and books your entire vacation. And this is not science fiction. Anthropic just released a feature that lets its AI autonomously control a user's computer to get tasks done. And these agents aren't just going to live on our screens. Nope. They are moving into the physical world. Companies are building these humanoid robots plugged into powerful AI models that can already do complex physical jobs like making coffee or working on an assembly line. The digital is officially becoming physical. And this brings us right back to our paradox. But now it's on a much, much grander scale. AI is evolving from a tool that just creates things to an agent that actually does things, both in the digital world and the physical one. So, as these agents start to step out of the lab and into our lives, the huge question is, are we ready? Thanks for watching.